Lars Mapstead,
Hey, hey.
welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
No, thanks for coming on, man. I get a lot of heat because I have like infinite number of libertarians on the show, but I can't help myself, man. It's interesting to me, and I think this is a great week to talk to you, man. Like, there's so much
Oh,
going on,
man.
and
In a firestorm.
yeah, with the Trump Elon divorce, which I predicted, long before Trump was inaugurated. That finally coming to fruition. We saw. I mean, anyone with any sense knew how that was going to end. It's been interesting to watch. So what's your take on that, man?
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as you. I said I can't. These two egos will not be able to stay in the same room for very long. I said 6 months. I mean, a year max, but I figured like 6 months was about all it was going to be. And you know, Trump would get pissed off at something Elon said, and that would be the end of that, right? Because Elon he shoots at the cuff. A lot of times he just says whatever's on his mind, whether it's like you know important or not, whatever. He just says it. So I expected that to happen. I'm glad that he's calling them out, and he's like basically, I think the thing is he went in there thinking he was going to cut $1 trillion worth of stuff, and and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, we're not doing that, and then when he did find stuff, they're like, yeah, but bro, my sister's cousin's niece's neighbor nephew works for this USAID thing in Zimbabwe, and I can't cut that because then she won't get her nickel from the government or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
all these guys they have so much have the grift in there. That's crazy. And I met with Thomas Massey last week.
mm,
There was a private fundraiser event for him, and I went to meet him. I'd never met him before, and it was close, so I was like, I'm gonna go talk to this guy and see what's up. And I talked to Justin Amash um a couple of times, and he talked about how he went in like thinking he was going to change Congress when he got there, and then he realized that like 10 people run Congress, and like you don't even get to put forth a bill. You don't get like they're like, get in line, vote the party, and if you don't vote the party, we primary you and we'll make your life miserable, and we won't ever put you on any actual committees that can do anything. So we'll just sideline you into oblivion if you don't like comply with our authoritarian you know and so that was that thing. And then after talking to Massey, like, I talked to him for probably about an hour on inside baseball on how Congress works, right? And I was kind of like blown away by it all, right? And he had a tweet today, him and Warren, I think he's from Ohio, uh, Warren Davidson.
yeah, I saw that one.
And he
The one of
basically,
two people that were basically opposing the
yeah,
the, the
and then he
bill.
said, they've been going around saying, "Oh, we can't cut spending because it's this type of bill and it just doesn't work and whatever." And
You
then
can
they're like,
increase it.
"Yeah, they're like, don't let them pull the wool over your eyes because they already have things in here that do that, and the Democrats did it, and so it's just total BS." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we're being lied to once again by like." And the thing is those people will get reelected 80%, even though they're literally lying to our face. They'll go on TV and lie straight to the people, and then everybody parrots whatever the lie is. Oh, they can't do it. We feel bad for them because their hands are tied. The poor
Mhm.
Republicans can't be fiscally responsible right now because the rules say, right? And they make up the freaking rules, right? So you remember there was these two congresswomen who had babies recently, and they wanted to
Yes.
like vote from far away or whatever. And so they were going to put forth a rule that they were going to put forth a bill that or a rule change or something that allowed them to vote if they were had infants or whatever and couldn't travel. And so the Speaker of the House implemented a rule, and the new rule said that a day is not a day in Congress, because they have like 15 days to like do the thing, and they're like,
Right.
so in Congress a day is not a day, and so therefore your bill can never come to the floor because a day is not a day in Congress. I ruled it. And it's like the shenanigans, and it's after watching the Libertarian Party for the last couple of years and the kind of shenanigans that they play with all their rules and like weaponize all the stuff and use them against each other, it's like, wow, it's the same. Like all like it's just, I think it's the nature of politics, right? Is that these people are just
Yeah.
unprincipled.
Which is where I'm trying to go with you, man. I want to talk to you about this because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills most of the time when I'm on Twitter, and because I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the world. But like for example, the Elon Musk thing, like I called it
Yep.
with laser precision. What was going
Yeah.
to happen is like because he actually, uh, you see him, he's retweeting Rothbard and he's retweeting Ron Paul, and he gets it, and he's like, I'm going to go in and make a difference. And poor sweet naive person, man, like I knew the way this was going to end,
Yeah.
and I knew that this was going to be the wedge that drove him and Trump apart, because we saw Trump's first administration, and I don't know what type of disbelief gas people have been inhaling on the Republican libertarian side, but it's like he's literally a state socialist. He's a enormous government, communist type central planner, right? Like this is not a low, a limited government, low spending. We're going to cut like to anyone with any fucking sense. It takes so little to observe like his pattern and be like, okay, this is what we got, right? So we reelected this person. I'm expecting exactly what we got. But other people, for some reason, there's a spell that this guy casts. I don't know how it's done, but Elon's a pretty smart dude, and he was completely suckered by it. And what dismayed me is the fact that he posted that tweet yesterday, and there was all this back and forth, and he basically threw Trump under the bus, and it's like, cool, great. And he's like, well, I'm done. And he's talking about, I'm not going to invest in politics anymore. And then later in the afternoon, he's like, well, we're going to primary people in the midterm. I'm like, dude, it's like you said, this thing is rigged, man. Like politics, like political action. I'm one of these people that gets accused of being blackpilled, and like, oh, it's like, wait a minute. Just because I look at objective reality and say action is not the way towards liberty doesn't mean I'm blackpilled, man. It just means I'm connected with reality. Like, what's your take on the situation? How do you view it?
Yeah, I think, Elon Musk, he had other reasons to do what to back Trump and to get in with Trump. And
For sure.
I think the main issue is that the Biden administration was basically, cock blocking him at every turn, whether it be, radio frequencies for Starlink satellites, or delaying his self-driving cars, or imposing draconian regulations on him to get his stuff done. Or, I mean, it was just went on and on. He had lawsuits going in every direction. He had pretty much every agency known to mankind, cock blocking him or aggressively going after him. So, I mean, just as a business person, if you see that type of activity coming at you and you've been trying to deal with it for years, and you're like, wait a minute, I could like back somebody else, and then they'll owe me favors, and then they'll call off the dogs of the government on all the things that I'm trying to do, and I only have to spend $100 million to do that, when I'm going to make $12 billion or $100 billion on the back end because suddenly my products can get through to market. Like, I'm not being stymied by government. So I think it wasn't necessarily that he was naive in this. It's just that he had a different like thing that he wanted to do. And then I think once he got in there, he was like, hey, I'm really good at like cutting staff and getting rid of people. Look what I did at Twitter. I could like go into the government and streamline it for you. And I mean, it's like everybody and his dog knows that the government is run inefficiently and unwisely. Like, even the craziest Democrat is like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, that was the question I asked all on my campaign was, do you believe that the government spends the money it takes from you wisely and efficiently?
Zero people say that.
Zero people. It doesn't, it's 100% unanimous consent. And then I said to, like, I would say to the Democrats, okay, cool. Can we agree that we should cut out the waste and fraud? And they're like, yeah. And I mean, they might not agree with me on what the waste and fraud is, but they agree that we should cut out waste and fraud, right? And so it didn't matter who you were. And so I think that's the critical piece. And so anybody can go in there and start cutting. And I we have computer systems in there that are using like COBOL programming language from the 80s or whatever it was, right? Like, it's just so stupid. And then like one of the things that really got me out of all the Doge stuff was they found like 4 million credit cards that government employees had or something like that, for some insane amount of credit cards. And I'm like, I sure as hell hope they're not carrying a balance and paying interest on that when, when, like, can you imagine them paying 20% interest on a credit card when the government can print money at 3%? Like, that's government inefficient.
Unironically, yes, I can.
It's like the most inefficient shit ever. I mean, if you're gonna steal from us, at least steal from us wisely and efficiently. Don't
Yeah.
just burn it to the ground.
Well, and that's where I'm getting at with this, Lars, is like I feel like everybody, particularly I'm seeing right leaning people, even MAGA people. I know there's a schism who's supporting Trump and who's supporting Elon, right? But I'm seeing at least like what's that Matt guy that's constantly tweeting in all caps now? He's just in an uproar about like I can't believe they're doing this, and I'm like I can. This is
Yeah.
par for the course.
Yeah, I
It's
saw
like
that guy. He found he got a couple big tweets, and so he's just milking it. He realized, like, and then the people like that, so now he's just, that's all he's posting over and over again because it's getting the algorithm going. So he's stoked on it.
yeah, but it's capturing like what I'm seeing from people out there. They're just like, I can't believe this is happening, and I'm like, and people are getting dismayed. They're kind of like in this camp of like people are just like, well, fuck it, like this was our big shot, right? Like we
Yeah.
thought that we were voting for this thing, and then we got more of the same, and so everyone's wondering like, what do we do? And so I'm trying to harness this what do we do moment because
Yeah.
I've been back and forth with people for the last couple of days. And like I said, I get accused of being a collapsitarian. I get accused of being a black pillar. And it's like, no, like I understand. Collapsing nation states are not the best, most fertile ground for liberty to emerge, right? That's typically where you see more tyranny and more violence.
You might end up with full socialism as the reset, or
exactly,
like a full regime, authoritarian, like crazy authoritarian regime could come out of that, right? So yeah, no.
So I want to have a conversation now. I'm kind of like, hey guys, like here's your moment, libertarians. Like maybe we step in and say like, maybe there's a better way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're seeing it the same way because I'm like, the state isn't the answer. Political action isn't the answer. It's going to give you more of the same. We got a ticking time clock here. If you look at the way the bond markets are reacting, right? We've seen the cracks in the bond market where the Fed is advertising multiple rate cuts, yet yields are going up. Everyone's bailing out of treasuries. Everyone understands the gig is up. There's not going to be a reduction in spending, and it's going to be QE money printing until the dollar collapses, right? So people are onto the game. And so we're at an inflection point, man. And I'm trying to be the guy that's like waving my hands and screaming at people, being like, guys, we got to do something different. But everybody is stuck in this damn political paradigm, and I don't know how to break out of it and how to get through to people.
Yeah, it's funny because my moment of clarity on that was 1992, Ross Perot. I voted for Ross Perot. I was like, oh my God, this guy is like talking about the debt and we got to get rid of it. And he had all his charts and he's like, you guys, we're going to go and we're going to, cut out the waste and fraud in government. And he got 20% of the vote. And the Democrats and Republicans were like, we're never having an independent ever get 20% of the vote again. And they changed all the rules immediately after that, right? And I just realized that the powers that be, the deep state, whatever the hell you want to call it, is never going to allow for the dismantling of the structures that they have created. Like it's
nope.
And everybody voted thinking Trump was gonna somehow be different, and it's really just not. Even if he was completely different, even if he was super based, it was like the most principled based person, he still wouldn't be able to do anything. The best that he can do right now, in my opinion, is he could say, you know what, screw it. I am going to veto any bill that isn't balanced. And we're just going to go straight at the beast, right? And like, you guys figure it out. And look, if you guys can get together and get 2/3 of the vote on spending more than what I want, then awesome. Well, at least we have bipartisan support. At least you clowns have finally started working together for the people, instead of like for your own selves and for the private corporations that, the RNC and DNC are private companies, and they basically control our elections and our government, basically.
Yeah, and that's where I get back to is I was like, but thinking that he would do such a thing is just it's brain dead, man. Like there's no spending that this guy has never fallen in love with. Like, and it's there's that old adage like, oh yeah, he's a New York Democrat, and he's like, yeah, absolutely he is, and he spends like it. He's like, oh, I'm the king of debt, but people don't take him at his word, which is very weird. There's this
trend changes his word changes every other day, and he's super hyperbole. So anything he says, you're just like, maybe. I mean, maybe we're gonna get Mexico to pay for the wall. Maybe we're gonna be able to end the war in one day. I mean, possibly. Maybe we're taking over Greenland. Maybe we're buying Canada. Like, come on. There's just so much stuff that's just so out there that's like you can't really. It's theater, and I mean, he was a reality TV star, right? So he's got years of theater inside him. Like he's good. Like he's like good at that, right? So
He is, and he's very good at playing the media too. He knows what things are going to. I mean, he will feed them things that he knows they're going to
yeah,
run with, and he'll
yeah,
use that as a distraction while he's doing something over here. He's actually pretty masterful at it.
yeah. No, he's really good at that. And I wish I was good at. I'm not deceit, but I wish I was better at communicating. There's some people in the Libertarian Party or liberty circles that are just really good at communication and can talk to everyday people and actually get the point across and change their minds.
Shout some of them out. I want to hear who you think is really good at that orator bit.
I think Larry Sharp is really good at that. I think he can pitch you. Like, you can be a hardcore lefty and he can pitch you on it, and the wheels in your brain will start turning. You know what I mean? I think Spike Cohen's pretty good at it. He does it in a little bit different manner, but both those guys are like, when I communicate to people, I get pissed off and I start yelling at them. And they're really good at like holding their temper and like trying to meet people where they're at, and then giving them the pieces or whatnot. And so that was why I hired Larry to help me with my public speaking, and that's why I had him picked him as my vice president, just because I felt like if we were gonna go campaign across the country, he would be an amazing person to have along to help get the message out there in a way that resonated with regular average Joe Americans, right? And him being a Marine, and him being a businessman, and him having the struggles that he had growing up, and same with me. Like I struggled a lot growing up, and so I felt like we could communicate with regular people better than the other candidates that were out there. But that didn't necessarily work out exactly. It was all right. It was a great, I really enjoyed the campaign. That was the first thing Thomas Massey asked me was, what did you get out of running, or what was your experience? And I achieved all the goals that I had set, and I actually did better on the goals that I had set running. And but I think the thing that I learned the most was, even though I have been looking at all this for a long time and being liberty minded for a long time, the thing that I found out was that I also was naive going into it, thinking that you could like change the system, or you could embed your no. Zero chance, bro. Zero. Like, one of the things I learned, which I didn't know, and I try to tell people this, and it's also basically leads into what I'm doing today, which is that there is no possibility for an independent or third-party candidate to become president of the United States. Zero. Doesn't matter who you are. If Donald Trump ran as an independent, he would lose. So, like by a landslide. Not like, and the people would be all, yay, we love that guy, we're gonna
No, you don't.
You're not. No. First of all, it'd be really hard for him to get on the ballot. The Republicans and Democrats would sue him to get him off the ballot, and if he lost one or two states, it's game over. So you have to get every state. And so even if you have money, like Kennedy had $50 million or $70 million, you get to a state like New York where you get 500,000 signatures, and there's 500,000 people that want you on their ballot. And then the Democrats sue and say, well, this address you had, it's not the correct address. So those 500,000 people are now disenfranchised, and their voice no longer counts, because I'm a judge and I decided that your address was wrong. So have a nice life. Fuck off.
Meanwhile, you can show up at the polls with no ID and no nothing, and you can vote, and everything's good. But yeah, it's so gross, man.
It's so gross. So yeah, that was the thing, is like, my whole thing was unrig the system. And what I realized was the system was so much more rigged than I ever imagined. That like, it's just like the backdoor deals, the backdoor games, the rules that are like, oh man, it's so gross. It's like, It's I'm kind of to the point now where I think that the end game for all of this is, and I said it during my campaign, which is that I don't know where you live, but
I'm in
Detroit,
Tennessee. I'm in
okay,
Nashville.
Tennessee, okay, Detroit, the city had they had a lot of money from all the car companies for a long time, and then the car companies started losing, and the steel companies were and like the base went out, and so their tax base kept deteriorating, and then the rich people started moving because they were getting taxed a lot, and they're like, we don't want to live here anymore because there's too much tax, and so the tax base kept going down and down, and meanwhile the government basically kept upping the pensions and upping the pay, and you literally had like firefighters were on the uh the board to decide how much the police would get in pension, and the police were on the board for the firefighters to see
Hmm.
how much they would get in pension. And so of course they're like, yeah, raise the pension, they deserve all these things, and so they just kept raising and raising. Literally like 2 weeks before Detroit went bankrupt, they were still raising pensions. They were like, yeah, right. And then they went bankrupt, and like all those guys that had pensions that hadn't retired yet or had just retired, they took like a 70 or 80% haircut on all the money that they supposedly were supposed to get from the government. They just left them holding the bag. And i'm I'm of the opinion that that's how this is going to go down, that they're going to run this debt into catastrophic failure, right into the ground, because no one wants to deal with it. You can see it with Social Security. We all know Social Security is failing. We got a couple years left. Are they doing anything about it? Nothing. Zero. They're gonna
Matter of fact, all this messaging Trump had around this big, beautiful bill, it was all just screaming, we're not touching Medicare. We're not touching Social Security. We're not, none of this. We're not touching any of it. It's
yeah.
like,
And like
hmm.
so I just think we're just gonna let it fall apart. And the funny thing about this is like I said, 1992, I was alarmed at the debt at that time with $1 trillion, right? Now we're $37 trillion, right? Like, and you keep thinking, well, the wheels have got to fall off this damn train, and they're like it's got to crash, right? And they just keep somehow propping it up. It's because we're the world reserve currency, and the
Mhm.
whole world. When we fall apart, the whole world's gonna fall apart, right?
That's
Like,
what I think people aren't appreciating. I
yeah,
think this is where I get called Chicken Little a lot. I'm like, oh, you're just the guy that's predicting disaster. Like you're black pilled. And it's like, guys, no. Like I've been studying economics for a very long time. Like I understand what's going on. And you're right. The world reserve currency thing that allows us to export our inflation. We have the singular advantage of printing all this money, and then you do these gross deals with Saudi Arabia. So OPEC will only accept USD for a barrel of oil, and as soon as that it gets reversed,
yeah,
all of that inflation that we've exported comes flooding directly back home. Basically, your Weimar Republic. The currency is worth nothing, and your entire global economic system is completely upset. That as you know, can cause very catastrophic consequences, not only economically but from a global military point of view. There could be a ton of bloodshed over this, and this is, I don't think the regular person appreciates exactly how dire this debt situation is.
yeah. No, for sure. And it's guaranteed to fail at some point. Like that's like it's not when, it's not if, it's when, right? And so I don't know when the when is, and I hope hopefully it's not during my lifetime, but I think there's a good chance that it is, right?
I
Uh,
don't see how it's not, man.
right.
Like you were calling out 92, right? Well, I
Yeah.
was even, being more generous and being like, hey, let's think about this. Like from George Washington until the end of George W. Bush's term, right? So the beginning of the Obama administration, we had racked up 4.5 trillion in debt. Trump did that in a couple of months in his first term, right? Like, and now we're
Bro,
looking at,
he's fiscally responsible, bro.
dude, it was so bad. And this is the worst thing. It's that Kopi and I keep talking about. Like you bring that up to somebody, they're like, "Oh, it wasn't his fault. It was
Yeah,
it
it's
was it was
COVID.
COVID. It was
COVID,
COVID."
bro.
And then
But
I'm like,
COVID came later.
well, hold on a second. Where did COVID come from? Like, oh, didn't he reverse the ban on gain of function research and through Peter Daszak and EcoHealth Alliance fund the Wuhan Institute of
Yeah.
Virology that created the
It's
pandemic? It's like,
yeah, it's that whole thing is just wild. And I saw a thing which like made me raise an eyebrow. Uh recently, and it basically said that, Trump was putting tariffs on China right during that time. And suddenly we have a giant virus spreading around the world that everybody has to focus 100% of their attention on. And suddenly tariffs are not at the top of the list. And then I don't know if you saw this, but this week I saw a post on Twitter and it said there's a new virus in China going around and they're locking students down. And I'm like, nope, we're not doing that again. We're not doing it. Nope.
I don't know, Lars. Are we? This is something where
I'm not doing it, bro.
If you want to talk about black pill, then maybe I am in some sense, right? Because this is where I get a little upset. A lot of the conservatives, right? Because I see them talking so much shit. Come and take my guns. Stack up or fuck off. I'm gonna, take over the government. It's like we had the singular most tyrannical experience under that COVID regime under Trump. Nobody did a fucking thing. All these people that I saw online that talked all this shit. It's like, okay, it's here. What are you doing? It's like, I'm taking the shots. What I'm doing.
And you ask them now, and they're like, "Well, that was the Democrats."
Yeah. Oh God, that's it's always it's the cities. It was the states. It was the governors.
Trump didn't have any choice. I'm like, bro, I watch Trump on TV every day with Cuomo battling back and forth on who could outdo each other in the warp speed and the this, and like my way is better at dealing with this than your way, and here's my buddy Fauci, let me bring him on. I've got, I love the meme. I've made a meme of him and Fauci just just laughing it up on fucking stage, while people are dying and stuff, and it's just like, you got dude. So I just can't take anybody serious that like two talks that. And today I was getting into it with some people because I was telling them, oh, well, Elon is like, basically going against Trump, and like, whose side are you on, Trump or Elon? And they're like, it's all MAGA, dude. They're not against each other. I'm like, dude, you're either for the bill or you're not for the bill. Are you for the bill or you're not for the bill? And I don't know if you saw, but I put a poll on my Twitter, and it
didn't see that.
Oh, it's so good, dude. And it's like, do you support Trump or do you support Elon? 85% support Elon.
Really? Well, how many people responded to that?
Percent, bro. Trump at 12%. I'm like, oh, okay. But it's like, it is on Twitter. I mean, I'm sure if I put it on Blue Sky, it'd be 100.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder, man, because like it does paint the MAGA people into a weird corner because they were all so behind the Trump Elon marriage, and like I said, going in, I knew I'm like, you got to pick somebody.
You can help me out.
And I'm seeing a lot of confusion, a lot of screeching, a lot of like not knowing what the hell is going on, and also a lot of like, that cope, man. Like I've got one friend who's like just refuses to believe that there's a divorce. And I'm like, hold on a second. Like, do you understand the way the White House is run? Do you know who Susie Wiles is? Like she does not tolerate, and Trump does not tolerate any sort of dissent or disloyalty. That is rule number one in that administration. And for him to publicly, not only saying like, hey, I can't hold my tongue anymore and just trash the bill. And then today, come on, he's posting these kill bill memes and he's like, we've got to call you representatives and kill. Like this is his signature piece of legislation. Like this is a very, very big deal. And they're like the red hats are just like, a lot of them just refuse to believe it. Like, oh no, this is all orchestrated. It's actually gonna be fine.
I know. One guy was like, dude, you don't understand the 7D chess that's going on right now. He's doing that so that he can lay cover for this other guy that's in. I'm like, what? We should play chess sometime, bro.
It's a cult. It is a straight up cult. And I get very frustrated because people that I know have sense and they've got an IQ above 85 act like they have an IQ of 45.
Yeah.
There's some magic to this guy. And I don't know what it is that it just hypnotizes people that are otherwise fairly rational people. And I'm just like, how do you do this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the magic of politicians, right? Like, I met a lot of politicians on the road. I don't consider myself, I think when you meet a real politician and you talk to them, you're like, I know why you won. You're like, oh, okay, bro, you're so smooth and you're so like everything, you can deflect everything on the spot, even if it's in your face, calling you to the ground, and everybody in the room knows it's true. Somehow you're able to just like, nope, I didn't do that.
It's like a snake charming act. I think Vivek is very good at that.
Yes.
Ramaswamy, he's
Yeah.
just super polished, super smooth, like the Gavin Newsom kind of
Ugh.
hairdo and the
Blah.
suits and the
Gavin
like.
Newsom is so gross. I think some of the stuff that Vivek said I was on board with. There, those I disagreed with him with a few things, but I mean, I thought Vivek had better takes than Trump did.
Yeah, that's true. But he's also such a limp wrist when it comes to holding any sort of principles. That's where I have an issue with him.
Mm.
Is that you saw during the primaries when Trump wasn't even on stage, all he did was kiss Trump's ass, and like he would just say, "Oh yes, Trump is the
I
best.
think he was.
Everything
I
is
think
great."
he was. I think he knew he wouldn't win, so I think he was angling
Yeah,
for
of course.
VP. He was
Of
angling for VP. So
Of course he was,
yeah,
but that's
yeah,
the I guess for me the grossness that
yeah.
turns me off from politicians. I love the Ross Perot. I love the Ron Paul that is going to say exactly, or the Thomas Massey, right? They're going to just unpopular or not, if it's not polished, if the speech isn't perfect, like they're just going to completely shoot you straight and tell you what they think. Like I love that, and I think it would resonate with people if more politicians did it, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah. It's interesting. So I was tweeting today a bunch about principles over party,
mm.
like principles before party, constituents before party, 100% constituents before party,
Do you
right? Like
think Americans have principles anymore?
I think that people have principles that they're not necessarily the same all across the board, but I think everybody has some principles by which they live by, and which they want to see done, right?
It feels to me like they don't. That's why I'm asking the question, right?
Well, I
Because
think
I
okay,
see.
I think that thing that I was talking about earlier is like a principle that we all agree that the government is wasteful with our money, and so we all agree that we should try to do better with our spending, right? And that's a principle, and I think that's a good principle. Like, if everybody agrees we should do better with our spending, and it's clear that our government is not doing better with our spending, then you have you have that poll. 85% of the people are voting to be principled with their spending on that, like just on that unscientific poll that I have, right? Because basically they're saying we don't want the big, beautiful omnibus pile of crap, 10,000 page thing that just screws everybody, right? Like we don't want it.
Yeah,
And
I get that, but let me push back just a little
yeah,
bit, right?
okay,
Because this is where I think Americans are kind of dumb, is because they say something like that. I'm gonna hold to this as a general principle, and then you ask them, you show them a breakdown, a pie chart. Here's the federal budget. Where are we going to cut? And they're like, "Well, I don't want that cut." Like, no, we're not. No, we're not touching. Especially Republicans,
yeah,
no touching the military spending, and no, you're not. Keep your hands off my social. And you go down the list, and the discretionary spending, as I'm sure you're aware, is like this tiny piece.
yep,
It's just tiny piece of
yeah.
the budget.
You cannot balance the budget without cutting mandatory spending. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think people don't understand that. And then if you tell them, like, hey, the only way to do this is to cut Social Security and Medicare, and they're like, oh, hell no, we're not doing that. Like, no, I want my government. I'm on the government teat. I want to be on the government teat. And it's like, cool, but at some point you run out of other people's money, and you run out of being ability to print money. And so you're all going to be Detroit.
Right. So is it a principle? It just doesn't feel like a principle to me. A
Yeah.
principle to me, right? And I know libertarians are traditionally more principled, I think, than most people. Most notably, the non-aggression principle, right? Like this is the line you shall not cross. That human beings actually have inalienable rights. You cannot do certain things to human beings, right, without crossing an ethical boundary. That's what I mean when I say principle. And this just feels to me like it's kind of like a aesthetic preference is what it's like.
Okay.
It's malleable. It's in the moment. Yeah, we should all cut spending, and then you drill down, and they're like, actually, it's not a principle. It's just kind of a thing that on Tuesday, when I feel like saying I want to cut spending, I say I want to cut spending, and that's what I'm getting at, man. Like I feel like America has just lost its soul in a lot of ways.
It's interesting. We did a bunch of debates as libertarian candidates, presidential candidates, all across the country. I debated in 35 states. So I did a lot of debates with the other candidates, and we had a number of debates where they would ask, like, what's your plan with Social Security, right? And like one guy was just like, yeah, we're just stopping it. And there was like old people, libertarians sitting in the room, and they're like, no, that's a non-starter for me. Like I worked all my life, I put my money in there, I want my money back. And I'm like, unfortunately, your money's gone.
People don't realize
There,
that
like,
though.
if you look at it, there's $2.8 trillion in the Social Security Trust Fund, or whatever you want to call the fund. And we spend $1.4 trillion a year ish on Social Security payments. So if you stopped robbing people of their money through payroll taxes, in less than 2 years, all the money would be gone.
Yep.
So there's no like account there that's got your money in it. You guys are smoking things.
Yeah, and Americans, they don't understand that, and I don't know why they at this late stage. It's been a system for a very long time. There's just this. I don't know if there's like talk about the snake charming effect politicians have done on people. Al Gore and the lockbox back in the day.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it is, but
honestly, I feel like it's our education system.
that's fair.
I feel like I don't remember going into school and them ever talking about Social Security. Like no one ever was like, this is how it works and this is what it does. I mean, they might have said like during this time they came up with this program and that's what we have now or whatever, but they never.
Yeah, it'll be like a FDR New Deal section. Talk about like all the amazing things that came out of the new, but don't talk about any of the specifics.
No. So I think that, in general, Americans are financially illiterate. I mean, that's the reality of it. And I think that's by design. I think
clearly,
right?
Clearly.
Because if you were financially literate, you would see how things are working against you. You would see how the Federal Reserve robs you every single day of your hard work. You would see how payroll taxes basically steal from you every single day. And that if you were to take the money that they rob from you to put into Social Security and you put it in your own S&P 500 account, at the end of your, when you turn 65, not only would you be making more per month than what the government's going to give you, you would have like $1 million in the bank that would create generational wealth for your family. So after 3 or 4 generations, you wouldn't have to be like so dependent on the government anymore. You'd be able to like have financial freedom to invest and to like, pursue better things. But the government doesn't want people to be financially free. They require you to be a slave. And so if you are financially literate, that's not going to work. So I think they don't teach it on purpose. Right?
But clearly, that old adage, like the government is there to break your legs and to hand you a crutch and then remind you repeatedly and loudly that you wouldn't be walking so good without them.
100%. This is kind of a total off tangent thing, but I've been deep diving into AI for probably like a year or so now, like pretty much every day. That's pretty much all I do. Venture capital into, funds that go into AI, and I just play with it like nonstop. And the VO3 thing that came out from Google recently, where you can just type in and it creates basically a 8-second movie for you on anything you want, right? And it's like really good with sound and all that kind of stuff. I realized that, and I've been playing with like little avatars and stuff like that, and I realized that we're maybe 6 months away, a year away at the most, from being able to create on the fly, real-time talking video from anybody, anywhere, any place, on any subject, right? And I realized that we could use those avatars. They can become teachers, the best teachers in the world, for pulling from them all the resources and knowledge of the greatest teachers that ever lived. And they will be teaching our children one-on-one at their pace, at the best way that they learn, knowing like my daughter had dyslexia, right? And so like the AI tutor would know that person has dyslexia and would teach them in a way that helped for dyslexia, right? So it's I think the entire education system is got 10 years max left, and we're not going to have any schools in America left because
boy, you think the government's going to allow that, dude?
Because the thing is, you see right now, school choice, homeschooling, under COVID, it had a major jump. Like there was a massive drop in kids in schools during that time. And there's a movement all across the country to basically allow for different options in schooling, right? And the thing is if you have your kid go to the AI teacher, and the AI teacher like advances your student 20x over the student in the regular school, ain't nobody going to be in the regular school anymore. So the market forces are going to create, unless they're like, you must attend public school.
I think so. Did you see what was in that big, beautiful bill? The federal regulation over AI?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that no state
state can regulate AI. It must be at the federal level, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they're fixing to do some pretty nefarious things there. And that could be one of them.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. I hadn't considered that, but that is a good point. I like it. I'll push that around in my brain for a little bit.
Well, I don't like it, but man, it's.
I like the idea. I like that you came up with that concept because, I in general like states autonomy over federal autonomy. It's very rare that I find a reason that the federal government should dictate everything and all for every person, because your local government knows what the citizens in that area want better, and you would never want local governments to tell other local governments across the country how they should behave. Could you imagine San Francisco telling you how you should behave?
Man, I feel like I did. So I escaped from Seattle about 3 years ago to Nashville.
Yeah.
I was, like I said, I've been an anarchist for a very long time, and I've always been like, I don't vote, and I don't pay attention to local stuff, don't pay attention to state stuff. And boy, there is a big damn difference between Washington, Western Washington, and Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I have a business in Tennessee, and so I was out there for campaigning, and then I went to so up in like Ashland, I want to say, like north of Nashville a little bit, and I have some friends that live up there. I'd never been there before. I don't think I'd been through Tennessee before. Maybe just drove through it once or something, but it was really beautiful. I really enjoyed my time there. It was really nice.
Yeah, and I was surprised when I got pitched to move. It was like, I'd never been to Tennessee. It's like, what are you even talking about? And
right now.
And flew out. He's like, the director was like, take your family out and just tell me what you think. And I was 2 days in. I'm like, just pack my shit and mail it to me, man. Like, I love it here. It's like, I don't have to have a permit to carry anything.
No state tax.
Yeah, no. Well, I didn't have that in Washington either.
Oh,
but they were getting, when I was leaving, very aggressive on the gun laws. Like, they're getting incredibly draconian. By the time I pulled out of town, I was a multiple time felon based off of all the shit that I had.
He's just kidding, guys. It's a joke. It's a probability. He's not.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
It's a joke. I would have friends say stuff to me like that, and I'd have my phone next to me, and I'd be like, guys, I ran for president. I'm fully bugged. I like you guys. Like, it's a joke, guys. FBI agent, we're not. Yeah, ha 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 ha. Joke, guys.
Yeah. Speaking of, what do you think about this Palantir shit, man?
Oh man, yeah, it's interesting. I've been following that for a long time, and their stock didn't do anything forever. Like, it just sat there and languished, and they were, when I first was looking at them, their main thing that they were talking about using their company for was they're a big data aggregator, basically, and they use AI to look through the big data and find patterns or probabilities of things. And so, I remember this is maybe probably maybe 5 years ago, right when they went public or something, and they were talking about the use case for their thing, which was that governments were hiring them to figure out where the next political unrest was going to be, where the next virus outbreak was going to happen, where whether you could push through this thing or that thing. But the idea of gathering all of our personal data in one giant database, there's nothing good that can come from that.
No, come on, Lars. They already got databases. That's what I'm hearing from everybody. It's like,
they already
have databases. It's fine, man. They already have that information.
Not all tied together in that manner. It's I think it's just inevitable. If not them, somebody else, right? It's unfortunate, but I just think that that's how we're going. I think. Well,
I also think people need to realize something here, is that this is not just publicly, or sorry, the available data that the government already has on you, right? Like this is importing everything from social media
Yeah.
presence, from like your cell phone,
Yeah.
right? Like
So they have a
this,
social credibility score for you and all,
it's common, man.
no, I mean, it's already there. I'm sure that they already have you profiled with a 3.8, whatever, whatever it is. It's pretty certain of that. I mean, like, look, we kind of went down that slippery slope a little bit with the credit agencies, right? Like that was kind of the beginning of this thing, is like, oh, we're going to rate you. And if we don't rate you right, you're not getting a loan. You're not like, and it doesn't matter what, and then they can be wrong on the
Well,
credit.
they typically are, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, somebody could be completely financially sound and just doesn't use credit,
Yeah,
pays cash. You have no credit score.
that's
Like
right.
try
You're
try to
not,
get a loan. You're
yeah, you're not
good
worthy. Yeah,
unless you find somebody that's willing to do manual underwriting, which they don't even do anymore because they heavily
but it's
rely
all
upon
AI.
FICO.
Yeah, and it's all
Yeah.
AI too. They're just like, oh, does he meet the check the boxes? If he checks the boxes, cool. If not, then we're just peace out. It's not worth it to take the business or whatever. It's yeah. I think that was a beginning. I'm sure there's many beginnings of that thing, but I think it's pretty clear that we're going to end up closer to China in authoritarian thing than we ever imagined. That was one of the big things that came out of COVID for me. So I watch a lot of financial news. I've been trading stocks since I was 18. I really love economics and especially the markets and that sort of thing. And so I remember watching and listening and seeing that China was locking down their citizens over the virus, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was telling my friends, because no one had even heard of COVID yet in America. And I'm like, bro, they're like welding the doors shut on their citizens. It's like, China's crazy. I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad we live in America where they would never lock you down.
But
A month later, we're all like, and especially, I live in California. I live in the bluest, most gnarliest, wokest possible town ever in the world, which is Santa Cruz, California. And
but it's so beautiful though.
it
Oh
is
my
so
god.
beautiful. And I'll just give you one idea of how totally ridiculous this town was. So I went into the mountains, into a state park, because I wanted to go on a hike with my kids and get some fresh air and the outdoors and that sort of thing. And I drove up there and they're like, park's full. I'm like, it's 50,000 acres. What do you mean the park's full? Get the fuck out of here. So I'm waiting in line. They're like, you have to wait till somebody comes out. And I'm like, okay. So I'm waiting. And I pull in. They're social distancing the cars 6 feet apart. Every space is empty in between the cars because, don't you know, the cars might give each other COVID.
And what's so dumb is that when you're outdoors, there's infinite volume, right? Like you
Yes.
cannot spread it outdoors, you
And-
dum-dums.
And then I said something to the ranger lady that was standing there, a little bit snarky, but like, oh, I guess the cars are going to give each other COVID. And she's like, if you want to be hiking here, I suggest you just keep your mouth shut. And I was like, dude,
It was crazy.
I
They're
pay you.
arresting people alone on the beach.
On the beach. Yeah. I pay you, lady. I pay you. So anyway, it was psycho here. And, I think going back to why we're even having this discussion is that I didn't think we would be like China, but I think now that we're gonna just keep going more and more toward China. That the cameras, the AI recognition of your face everywhere you go,
Real ID.
Real ID, like all of it is just going in that direction. And I don't really see us stopping that. I think that the powers that be will just keep going for it. It's financially motivating, it's control motivating, so they have all the incentives to keep going down that road. And I don't see us not going down that road. I wish that wasn't true. I think that if you live in a super rural area, you're much less likely to feel the effects of that than you are if you live in a really urban setting, right? So if you live in Montana or Wyoming or Idaho or even Tennessee, and if you're not next to the a big city, you're much more likely to have they're not putting cameras in every tree, right? Like the cameras are in the stop signs and in the in the buildings and stuff. So if you live not in a populated area, you're much less likely to be surveilled constantly. And so maybe the people that don't want to be surveilled by the government will just live in non-urban areas.
That's my next move, brother. Like I'm already looking at acreage out about 45 minutes from Nashville, where I can
There you
just
go.
be completely off grid and away from all this craziness, because I do see it coming, and I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to end well.
Yeah.
And I think being near a city, not just from a surveillance perspective, but from a safety and a resource maintaining aspect, right? Like this is going to be Walking Dead type of shit. I think that's going to be looting. It's going to be people stealing your shit. It's going to be complete chaos. And so
yeah, one of the other things that I've been really like talking a lot about is AI, the effects of AI, and like what's coming. And I started in the internet in 1993, 1990, early 1994, when Mosaic browser first came out.
I remember that shit. I'm old
Nobody
too.
knew what the internet was, right? They were like, what are you talking about? So I would talk to my friends and be like, the internet, and they're like, whatever, bro. That's for nerds. Nobody's going to use the internet. It's stupid. Go do your nerd stuff over there. We don't want to hear about it, And I'd be like, well, later there's going to be like video on the internet, and you're going to be able to watch videos and like learn stuff and do things. And even I didn't see the vastness of it, but I knew that it was going to be big, right?
Well, at least you beat Paul Krugman.
Yeah, I look at AI, and I'm like, this is 1,000 times the internet. Like it's so much bigger than how the internet changed our life. And now we all walk around with the phone, and we all have the internet all the time, and people would just like die if they didn't have the internet at their fingertips every waking moment, right? So AI is right now we have 300 and some odd million people in America. 100 million people are on government assistance. 100 million people are stay-at-home moms or kids that don't work, so they don't get any money. And 100 million people work. I believe that in the next 2 years, there's a really good chance that we're going to lose 50 million jobs.
I think that's probably fair.
And when I tell people like your job is at risk, they're like, not my job, because robot can't do my job. And I'm like, yeah, no, your job is at risk. And when they've realized that their job is gone and that there's no new job to replace it, they're going to freak out.
Well, I think there will be new jobs to replace it. I think this is on a larger scale, to be sure.
Okay.
But it's very much like the candle makers are really pissed off that Edison invented the light bulb. But you know what? The light bulb is better. And I think this is going to lead to huge advancements in productivity. I think Elon's got the right idea, making robots for manufacturing and stuff. It's going to revolutionize stuff, right? And if you can, have these economies of scale where you bring down the cost of labor, right? You bring down the cost of manufacturing items, manufacturing homes, right? Like if you can bring down the cost, like you can go into other fields. Like there's always going to be jobs needed, because what's that old Austrian saying is like, human desires are infinite. There's always going to be something, and it's going to always evolve. And I think
the issue is that, and why, everybody says you can't say this time is different because it's never different. It's always the same. But what is different this time is we are creating an intelligence that's smarter than us in a humanoid form factor. So if you're
maybe I'm so, like I said, I'm still on the fence about this.
I'm not a matter of if but when. There will be AGI. There will be computers that basically learn by themselves and do not need human interaction. And I think it's a lot closer than people think. But I mean,
I agree with you. I think at some point that's going to happen. I think it's still further out than people think, because I'm also a nerd and study consciousness, and I think that and obviously I'm in tech as well. I think there are problems with AI that it hasn't accounted for yet. The fact that especially if you believe Sir Roger Penrose, Stuart Hameroff, like that consciousness is not non-computational, right? I think these AI companies, NVIDIA, the people that are making these chips, they don't understand the problem they're up against when it gets to actual AGI and some sort of sentient type of thing that we're all talking about, where you can they can program themselves, they can manufacture themselves, like that future state that's probably going to happen at some point. I just think that is a lot further off than people think. I think AI, these I don't even hate the term because it's just LLMs, which are generally a bag of tricks.
Sure. No, I totally get that part of it, but I just like I was with a buddy the other day, and we were talking, and I was telling him, like, these robots, within the next year, Optimus robots are shipping, right? And I'm an investor in Figure AI and in Tesla, obviously, and so these robots are coming. They're going to be 5,000 of them at first, but after the first year, he expects 50,000 of them, and then the price is supposed to get down to like something like $8,000 for a robot that can
it's just like cell phones, man. Like the rich people get them at first; they're super
It's
expensive, and over
100%
time,
that.
but that curve's going to happen.
The speed at which AI is growing, it's doubling every 5 months, which is unprecedented. It's like the internet took 10 years to double basically, but we're doubling every 5 months. So the speed of this is going to catch everybody by surprise, I think. And like my buddy's comment was, well, robots are super clunky and they're never going to be able to do the things that that we can do. And then I showed him some of the new videos of the robots, dancing and doing stuff, and he's like, oh, okay, well, those are better, but they're still clunky. And he's like, no robot's ever going to climb up in the rafters and weld the
bullshit
thing.
You're gonna do it better than humans.
I'm like, bro, not only are they going to do it, they're going to have like a little finger that like does it, and they're going to have infrared cameras and little cameras that they can put behind the thing and see if the weld is good, and they're going to it's going to be perfect. And the thing is about robots, like, with humans, you have to have all these apprentices, and you bring them up and you teach them and they learn the ropes. A robot, you teach one robot, you've taught them all.
Exactly. And they don't have unions. You don't have to pay them. They don't take breaks. They can run 24/7. I get it, man. Like the scale of this is fantastic.
I am also of the mind, though. So this is my prediction, and you can take it for what it is. But I think that in 2 years-ish time, you're going to start seeing violent protests around the world, around America. I think it'll start in the big cities first. It'll be like Chicago and Detroit and places where there's already poverty and there's already like hardship. Those places will be first. You'll see looting and rioting and burning, and that's your tell to like go hunker down. Like that's what I'm going to be doing, right? Like that's what I'm going to be doing. And there's this transition period where we have to get to the abundance period, where the robots are doing so much productivity that the cost of everything has come down, that everybody basically gets to live like a king and not work anymore. And like we could
that's the scariest outcome, honestly, to me, Lars.
Yeah.
I think that human beings don't thrive in that situation. This Wall-E type of future is something that I think what's going to happen is human beings will tear it all to the ground just so that we won't be living in that existence. We have to have a struggle. We've got to have something interesting and difficult to wrestle with. I think it's part of our nature.
So for me, I totally agree with that. But I also saw during COVID millions and millions of Americans getting government checks. And I heard them say, bro, if I could just live like this for the rest of my life, I don't have to be rich. But if I'd never had to work again and I could just drink beer down by the beach with my bros and surf all day, like I would totally do that. There is a vast swath of Americans that are totally ready to just live a, generic lifestyle if they don't have to work anymore. And we also have a precedent about it, which is that at 65, most people retire. And when the people retire, they go through this struggle of like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with my life now? Like my whole life has been building this business or working, and my identity was like I worked at IBM and I did this thing, or I was a truck driver or whatever it is, right? And suddenly they're not that anymore, and people are like, well, what do you do? And you're like, oh.
Have you seen the data, Lars, on what happens to those people?
Attrition.
They die. I'm not joking. Look at this data. If you're a data nerd like me, look at the data of people who retire and how many years they live after they retire. It is not long. These people generally die. So people that they always say, like people even being a Walmart greeter, doing something with purpose in your life extends lifespan. people are not meant to not do anything.
Yeah, it is interesting. So I don't know. Well, we'll see how it goes, but I think that there's going to be a period of struggle, and then we're going to have a lot of abundance. And I think that we could probably like cut government 75% and probably still have more people on the dole living better lives than they are right now, just because I think AI is going to reduce the cost of everything. Like you said, they're going to build houses that, you know, the shirt you have right now that costs $25 is going to cost 25 cents. You know, we're heading into this like crazy abundant energy like kind of situation. There was this there's these solar panels that China's launching into space, and they're fixed at the sun all the time, and they use microwaves to beam the energy back to Earth.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, go look it up. It's wild.
That's interesting.
So there's some pretty crazy, and the solar panels are like really efficient because they're not in the weather and they don't have atmosphere to cut through and all that kind of whatever. So there is going to be technology, nuclear fusion, or fission.
Potentially colliding beam fusion too, which is something I got a guest of the podcast, Dr. Delbert Larson. Like he's focused on that area as well. So there's a bunch of things that are on the horizon. I think you're right. I think we're going to get to a thing where energy actually isn't expensive
and
anymore.
Once you get to unlimited free energy, everything opens up. You can do you know, all the water is in the ocean is suddenly desalinization works because that's the biggest cost is energy. Suddenly, you know, like mining and drilling and stuff becomes way cheaper and easier. Like the cost of everything just drops, and plus everything that we purchase, everything that we do has embedded energy costs, like massive embedded energy costs. So the cost of everything just drops, you know, huge. And you know, I mean, I did a poll not too long ago, and it said, "Is the future of the world Star Trek, Logan's Run, or Terminator?"
I'm leaning towards Terminator, man, because I'm very concerned we haven't touched on this yet, but the way these things can be misused by governments and militaries, and that's scary as hell. Like I'm already concerned about just something as simple as drone attacks right now. I'm waiting for this to happen. I mean, watching the footage from Ukraine, it's like, this is Al Qaeda like type of attack written all over it. This is a cheap, and this is something where you could, for example, take a fleet of, let's say, 50 drones that are equipped with explosives and fly them into an NFL stadium or something, just blow up the crowd. Like this is,
and it's not military. It's not even military. It's like anybody in America that's pissed off.
Well, sure, but I think the governments will want to do something that is, you know, on the scale of like, you know, nuclear weapons, right? Something that's so overwhelming that nobody can oppose it, right? I think that's going to be the big rate. The arms race is going to be in things like robotics, the AI-enabled robotic soldiers.
You saw, you know, you hear about Taiwan all the time, right? China's going to like invade Taiwan and take it over or whatever.
Oh, no, I heard Pete Hegseth say that we're going to go to war with China to stop that from happening. So thanks, Pete.
Awesome.
We're good.
You know, they always say that they have all these like boats that just gonna land millions of troops onto Taiwan and just take it over. And I was like, you know, after watching all that Ukraine stuff with the drones, I'm like, and then I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw it, and if I saw it, somebody's gonna do it. Basically, they say China has this troop transport carrier, like that you put tanks in, that you would like ship to Iraq or whatever, and it has 100,000 drone holes on the side of it. And so it just flies over a city. The 100,000 drones come out like TIE fighters, and then the objective is kill anything that moves, right? And they have AI can see which face it is, facial recognition. So they have a few key players that they want to keep alive because they have technical knowledge or whatever, right? So they keep those people alive. They kill everybody else, and so we're not bombing cities anymore. Like Gaza is probably the last place to ever get bombed in the planet because we're going to go in and take all the infrastructure. Like they can kill everybody and then just move all the people into the factories and start producing straight away. And there's housing for all the people and just take over the convenience stores there, and they're ready to go. So I think that's the future of war for sure, and which is just.
Well, then there's stuff we don't even know about yet. So are you familiar with the MH370? The Malaysian Airlines?
No.
Oh, you should look up Ashton Forbes. He's got a great account on Twitter.
Okay.
And there's leaked footage. This is like, Edward Snowden type of leaked footage of what appears to be some sort of directed energy, like free
Mm.
energy weapon, or not zero.
Was
What was it? 0 point energy. That's what it's called. Zero
oh,
point
this is the
energy.
one that just disappeared
Yeah, where those
like
three
years ago.
orbs or four orbs are circling it, and then it just
Yeah,
disappears.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they found the wreckage somewhere where it absolutely shouldn't have been. So it's like some sort of teleportation thing. Like, I don't even know
Yeah.
exactly what this is,
Yeah,
but
they were like some people had thought that maybe a country had stolen it or something like that, and it was going to show up in Russia or in whatever someplace. But yeah, interesting.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I would definitely look at that, because that's super interesting to me. And also that I've been watching that guy's account, and then I'm also listening to Trump talk, and he's like, "Oh, you talk about, we've got stuff that you don't even know yet," and I'm like,
of course you do.
and it's like, combining those two things. I mean, normally I would just like, yeah, Trump's talking shit, but
Yeah.
seeing some of the, and obviously the
Well, he
UAP
can't help
stuff.
but to brag about it a little bit. Like,
Yeah, he's gonna
you know
he's
what I mean?
gonna
Like, I
he's
know
gonna
stuff
tell.
that you don't know. I know
Yeah.
things that you guys don't know.
So now I'm
It's
like, what the hell do you got? Like, what do we got? The UAP thing has been very weird to watch, right? Like, I think everyone that I know that's in the tech space is kind of like, well, I don't think this is aliens. I think this is some advanced tech that we have, or somebody has. Like,
yeah.
do you remember that shit before the election? The stuff in New Jersey? Like,
Yeah.
that was like every night.
Yeah.
Like, and then
Yeah,
did you
and
notice
then
that
they
it just
didn't
went
really
away?
ever really say what it was. Like they said maybe they were looking for some radiation that got loot, like somebody had a dirty bomb or somebody had a thing, and
It just
yeah,
went
and
away, like almost overnight. It was every
well,
night for like a month, and then all of a sudden just like disappeared.
it's all like, I mean, you could paint that in 100 different ways, but like that could have easily just been a psyop from the CIA or something. They wanted to distract people, and they're like, "What is it, guys?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
and then they just fly a bunch of drones, and they're like, "Oh, there's one. What is it, guys?" And they're like, "Ha ha ha! It's just us screwing with you because now you're all paying attention to that, and you're not paying attention to whatever it is that they're actually doing, right?"
Yeah, and that's one of the other negatives of government, I think, that isn't talked about enough, is this secrecy thing. But this sort of this black box, you don't know what this thing, that whatever this apparatus is that we're funding, we don't have a clue what it's doing. Um, and I mean, whether it's you want to know about the JFK assassination, whether you want to know about Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah,
it's like
Epstein, all that stuff.
you're
No, the CIA and the FBI and the other, secret agency things that are, running there. It's pretty clear that the bureaucratic state that lives within inside those agencies is totally rogue, and that there are, uh, you know, I don't know if we want to call it a cabal of people or a secret group of people or what. It's pretty clear that somebody's pulling the strings, and I don't think it's any of the regular people in government.
definitely not. Definitely not.
It's a different group of people, and I've never been one to be like the conspiracy of like there's this world order that like goes over everything and does this thing, but it's clear in smaller groups that that's true. Like it's just like I just thought that today. I saw something about how FBI agents were caught like deleting some evidence or something like that, and it's like, so why aren't they in prison for life? Like you're literally like destroying evidence that's national security stuff. And if any of the rest of us did that, we'd be in prison for life, but you're like, yeah, we'll put him on furlough for a week or something like that, and then bro can come back and do his thing again because he's too important. He knows too much dirt on people, or see like, and that goes all the way back to that McCarthy era shit where where they were like using the FBI to like do blackmail on presidents, and it's just it's all that stuff is so gross, and it's like,
And everybody just looks at it and shrugs. And this is the thing that bothers me, is like you called out, take the Epstein thing, right? Like, you do this big dog and pony show. Look at the binders. We got the Epstein files. This sort of like MAGA influencer thing that was just a ridiculous circus. And then people are like, oh, there's nothing in that. Where are the actual Epstein files? And they're like, New York, we
these
found
are the
some
same
files.
ones.
They were hiding them
These are
from
the
us.
same ones we already released to you, but we undoctored them 4 more times. Or it was funny too. They're like, they released something this week and they said, oh, here's a picture of Epstein killing himself, or video of Epstein
Yeah,
killing
yeah.
himself, or whatever, or not killing himself, whatever the thing was, right? And I was like, you know, AI has gotten so good at this point, and I guarantee you that the AI that the government has is way better than the AI that we're using. And so, like, they can literally just make up whatever the hell they want. And they have the mouthpiece of the media, and people believe whatever they see on the media as the truth, even though we know they lie to us literally every freaking day. So I have little hope in any of that stuff ever
Yeah,
coming to light.
what I mean though is like even if you believe the story, right? So the American people are told like, well, New York, they've been hiding the Epstein files. We just found a giant truckload of files that they've been hiding from us. Like, wait a minute. So there's a entire branch of the FBI in New York that's obstructing justice, and there's no arrest, there's no charges, there's no nothing. The files are on Pam's desk. We're reviewing them now, and then people keep, you know, as you see these people tweeting, and then every single tweet underneath Cash or Bondi or whatever is like, where's the goddamn files? And they're just like, LOL. And then now it's like, well, now we found a video of him killing himself, case closed, and please don't ask any more questions. And the whole world,
don't ask.
the whole American populace is just like, okay, well, I guess there's just nothing there, man.
Yeah,
it's very wild.
It's frustrating and infuriating, and there's so much to be outraged at.
That's a problem too, right? It's like there's just too many things. Like, what?
You get tired of being outraged. Like, I think that's part of it. They just wear you down. You're just like, there's just too much of this.
Yeah, and this is where I'm starting to just believe the agorists had it right to begin with. They're just like, fuck it, counter economics. Let's go do our own thing and just let the world burn. Like, man, I might have missed the boat.
Somebody recently said, you know, I think the Amish had it right, and I was like, you know,
I think we're going to see a return to this, dude. I swear to God, this is going to be, I think this is going to be the new trend.
You know,
like all this tech stuff we're talking about, all of the way the society is collapsing. I think there's a lot of people are going to opt out, like me, move out to the country, get a bunch of acreage, and live a simpler life. Like sit around the fire at night, disconnect.
I totally agree with that, because I think that there's going to be this, there's going to be this. I was thinking about this today. There's like this: are you plugged in or are you not plugged in?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like the blurring of plugged in and not. I play a lot of video games, and like when you're playing video games, you're kind of in that world. You're kind of like enmeshed and immersed in that thing, and then you come out and you're like, go in your backyard and you're like, oh, there's birds and there's my garden and there's, and like the more we like get embedded in this, you know, I sit in the front of the computer screen like 50 hours a day, it seems like. And so the more we get embedded in this and the less we interact with the physical world, and that AI is going to make it so much easier just to be like, if you want to live in a complete fantasy land, like Wall-E, you can, right? Like you can just create whatever you want. And there's going to be a lot of people that choose that, because
there will definitely.
The physical world is way gnarlier to them than anything that they could ever dream up in the comfort of a thing. And as long as they have their feeder tube in them, they'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. But I also think, like I said, there's going to be a trend. I think there's going to be some people that do. It's almost like that, you know, TradCon movement, right? Where we're all just going to go get some chickens and live out and, you know, kind of disconnect.
Right.
I think it'll be a thing.
And I've also, like, one of the things I've been saying about, like, you know, when asked, like, what do you do for work, right? And you answer, and that's how people, like, perceive you as your thing or whatever. And when we're not working anymore, when the majority of people are no longer working, that's not going to be the thing that's like, what is your purpose in life? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you know what your purpose in life is, right? And, like, I think that instead of like, oh, I'm a lawyer, oh, I'm a doctor, whatever, it's going to be like, my kids are really healthy and happy, and my parents are loved and they're with me, and like we have a great relationship, and like that you're going to be judged more on like how you interact with human beings and how you engage with, you know, the other people around you than you are by what you do. And I think we're going to move back towards tribes, not in the sense that we're like roaming around in tribes, but like I have a car. I'm a big car guy, so I have a car tribe. I have a political tribe. I have a work tribe. I have, you know, spiritual practice tribe. I have, just all these different groups of people. I have venture capital tribe, and like all these different people. And so it's like how I feel like I want to be judged, and the future is like, how am I of service to these tribes? How am I of service to the people around me? And am I bringing something to the relationship and to the group, or am I just taking or whatever, right? And so I think that that's going to be sort of how we look at life in the future, which I think is super bitchin' and positive, right?
Absolutely agree. I worry a bit though. This whole Gen Z thing has been the brains have been broken, man. Like, and I'm not just saying that flippantly. You look at
Yeah,
the incidences of mental health issues, and like the brains have been hijacked by their phones. Their dopamine systems all jacked up. Their inability to connect with other human beings in a real world setting, right? Like that is it's really fundamentally broken. So I hope we can get back to that world that you're talking about, because I think that'd be a much better world to live in.
yeah. I hope so too. I'm positive for the future, but I do think we're going to go through this period of transition that's going to be pretty scary, and I expect there to be, I have my bullets and my guns, and I'm ready.
Get your California compliant weapons.
Jesus, don't even start with me. I like my buddy is like really like he's big into guns, and like I have a bunch of buddies that are really big into guns, and I like, I'm a big Second Amendment guy, but I've never been like a guy that's just like I'm totally into my guns or whatever. But literally never felt like I needed a gun until COVID, and I went out and bought guns during COVID because I realized that if the shit went south, the police weren't coming to defend you.
Nope.
It was
No
going to
one's
be
coming to
you.
save you.
No one's coming to save you. So I'm like, I'm getting some defense stuff. So recently I was looking at these 1911 pistols, right? And I saw this one and I thought, oh, that one looks, pretty cool. And I've heard good stuff about them or whatever. So I sent it to my buddy. I'm like, what do you think about this one? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. I approve, but you can't buy that here. I'm like, it's a pistol, bro. What do you mean I can't buy it
Yeah.
here? He's like, oh yeah, you have to get the California compliant version of the 1911. So I looked at that. I'm like, well, that's not nearly as cool as this other one.
Nope. Nope. California ruins everything gun
Like,
related.
fuck you, Gavin Newsom.
Oh man. Well, that's a great place to leave it, man. That's a perfect ending for this, man. Thank you so much for stopping by, man. It's
Thank
been a
you, man.
great chatting with you. Really
My pleasure.
appreciate the discussion. Definitely a lot like me, man. So hope we keep in touch, and tell everyone where they can find you online.
Yeah, I didn't really yeah, so social media, obviously, Libertarian Lars, Facebook, I think it's also Libertarian Lars. And then, I didn't really get to talk about what I'm working on now, which is basically I'm trying to create a free market in American politics, because I believe that the two-party system has basically captured our stuff, and that if we ever want to have any representation for the actual people, we have to stop allowing the two private corporations from running our elections in our country. And so I think the best way to do that is to basically create a free market by fixing ballot access, ending gerrymandering, ending winner take all laws, just basically unrigging the rules to make it so that regular people can run for office and kick ass, basically. And so that that foundation, the nonprofit, is called Voting Rights Foundation. .org. You can go check that out. That's what I'm working on right now. Traveling the country trying to pitch that and like get people on board. And I have another group too, which is called More Voter Choice Fund. And essentially that's more of like a litigation and lobbying group. And we came up with a ballot access index, which ranks all the states based on how easy it is for a candidate to get on the ballot there. And we're lobbying and pushing for states to adopt a model ballot access like legislation, basically, to make it super easy for everybody to run, not have that same kind of thing that happened to Kennedy, where they just sue you off the ballot or that sort of thing. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome, dude. Sounds like a cool initiative. Everybody go check them out, and we'll chat later, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye.